Oh, you have got to be ready when the Spirit moves you during the off season. Will the Rangers be ready financially and fiscally? We're going to discuss some of that as we get you going in the hot stove version of the DLLS Rangers Podcast. And now is the time when big league front office personnel get down in the trenches and they begin the work and lay the groundwork and continue the work that has already started to set their team and set their roster for a successful 2025. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. Welcome to the DLLS Rangers Podcast. John Radigan with Abby Jones, Jeff Wilson. Prophet's a little under the weather, so toss up a prayer for the Prophet today. He sounds hoarse, actually, this morning. So busy day for him, too, as he produced the Cowboys show as well. So hold a good thought for the Prophet, and we definitely appreciate that. We've talked a lot about the fact that the Rangers are not intending at this point to, for sure at least, not go over that luxury tax threshold. If they do that for a third year in a row, that would be a 50% tax because they've done it 2 years in a row. And they don't want to pay 50 cents on every dollar over that tax. And so, the line from Chris Young during the, right at the end of the season meeting was, we're going to get better internally, right? So that process means we're not going to spend that much money. Right, we're going to do what we can do without, breaking the bank, as they certainly have done in the past. And so that means, as everybody gets towards the shopping season, Jeff, that means shopping on a budget.
Window shopping.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Black Friday is coming up.
Yeah.
Cyber Monday, so maybe the Rangers can get them a couple ball players then. But it's everybody remembers Corey Seager and Marcus Semien and DeGrom, and those were huge deals. The biggest contracts really the Rangers had ever given out, and but you forget that they have in the past been very good with finding value at the middle tier, like the middle tier pitchers, for instance. Mike Minor became an all-star for the Rangers. Lance Lynn was really good. Kyle Gibson was an all-star.
Yeah.
So guys like that, and that comes down to scouting and understanding what they're expecting, where they've been. Sometimes it's guys who are coming off of injuries, need a rebound type of thing. That was kind of the knock with Mike Minor, was his injury history, and they tried to limit his injuries that first year. But I think there are opportunities like that for all teams. I think all teams, teams want to sign guys affordably. There are just some teams that care less about doing that, and generally they have the television revenue or just the franchise value in general to go ahead and do that. I think that the Rangers, I understand the luxury tax thing. I do. I get it. I get it. But
it's good for baseball.
I also understand that the owner of the baseball team is worth $3.6 billion, and if he can handle it,
yeah,
he can handle it. And so anyway, I would the story I wrote the other day, all the way back to yesterday, like Shane Bieber, the Indians, the Guardians. All-Star, Cy Young winner, Tommy John surgery. He's coming off of Tommy John surgery. Won't be ready by opening day. what kind of deal would it take to get him? Would it be like Tyler Malley, 2-22? Would it be a little bit more because he is Shane Bieber, So I don't know, but I think you can kind of start there and kind of look at that, because that has been a Ranger strength. I mean, Kirby Yates signed for $4.5 million.
Right.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
So they're always going to do that. Evaldi will be a little bit more, and they just need to go ahead and do that. And you when you sign a guy like that, you look at future payrolls too. What does that look like? Well, John Gray is going to come off the books next year. All right, so you're saving a little bit of money there. DeGrom's not going to be making $40 million forever. So, when he's done in a few years, you get that money, and so it's a complicated process. But in terms of the luxury tax, I get it. It can be a penalty, but I also still think you gotta be able to spend a little more to make this team a winner again.
Yeah, and I guess like off season, it's just kind of like the rich get richer mentality sometimes, because Soto is throwing out $700 million, and we know the teams that are assumed in that conversation. It's like Dodgers are always going to be able to pay these kind of contracts, and the Yankees and the Mets and things like that. But I was just kind of talking to my dad, like, very realistically about the offseason, and I think it's just easy to forget when we're talking about these numbers, $350 million, $500 million, or $700 million. I mean, those are real numbers. Like, we toss them out left and right, but they hold value. Somebody does have to pay that. You do have to spend money to make money. I think sports is an industry that you quickly see return on investment. You want to spend money to, lead to success and build those pieces. But at the end of the day, it is a real number. You kind of have to wrap your head around it.
It is.
And make those internal upgrades where you can.
Absolutely. And that's wise. I mean, it's 100% wise. And Chris Young is right. We're going to get more into a lot of those will be offensive improvements, and we'll be getting into that a little later on in the program, too. We're just getting started here on the DLLS Rangers podcast, and we hope you will chat along, as several already are. We hope that you will subscribe and like us as well, because this is the time of year where you just talk baseball. Baseball's a talking sport, and we're talking baseball each and every day. And Jeff, when you mention the Mike Miners, the Lance Lynns of the world, Jesse Chavez probably fits into that category, right? Obviously, Kyle Gibson, you mentioned, all those guys, right? So did John Daniels and his crew just have a great eye for that? Was it lightning? I mean, lightning usually doesn't strike in a bottle 4 times.
Yeah, right.
But
right.
they got a lot out of guys that other teams were no longer interested in.
They did, and it comes down to, like, what does the team prefer at the time? Kyle Gibson was a noted ground ball pitcher. I think he probably still is, and the Rangers really liked that. So they would find us, guys like that, and identify what they wanted their pitchers to look like. And go from there. So Kyle Gibson fit that mold, and his first year wasn't great, but his second year was really good, and they ended up flipping him in a deal that didn't pan out really for them, but oh well. The Rangers pro scouting department has been on a heater here for a while, and I mean, it's real easy to scout Corey Seager,
right?
But to identify Kirby Yates as a guy, they signed him right at the start of the winter meetings. That somebody that they wanted from the get go. It wasn't like, oh well, and I don't know if he was their number one guy, but he was definitely a guy, and so. The scouting thing, it's complicated. It's something I don't understand. I really don't understand the trade stuff, how they can identify trade candidates. Everybody thinks it's the teams that are trying to sell, but it's the teams that are kind of like the Guardians and the Brewers, and they're good, but they can't afford to re-sign their best players, so they got to get something for them. Kind of like the Orioles did last year with Corbin Burns and sending the prospects to the Brewers, and Devin Williams is a guy that, maybe, if you can't get Kirby Yates, do you want to pay Devin Williams $10 million or whatever his arbitration number is, plus a few prospects for what would be 1 year? So those are all things you got to weigh value, and that's kind of, John Daniels is, I guess, where I kind of learned to appreciate value, and it seemed like sometimes his values are always a little bit lower than the going market rate, but whatever, it worked. But the Rangers are kind of finding themselves in that position. But again, they don't need a bunch of superstars this offseason. They need internal improvement. That's the big thing, and then they need pieces that will complement what they already have. So that's kind of why, if they are cutting the budget, it's kind of good timing because they don't need to go sign Corey Seager and Marcus Semien again. They need to sign complementary pieces.
Yeah, and then as far as that bullpen goes, that was the other thing I thought JD was good at, and maybe there's been a shift in mentality in sort of the construction of a bullpen. But it seemed to me that for years there, in the middle, really in the teens, 2010 to maybe almost till 20, if you had a closer in the mentality of John Daniels and his camp, if you had a closer, he kind of seemed like he felt like he could cobble something together, again, with the Mike Adamses of the world, with the Jake Diekmans of the world, guys like that. Is that still something you feel like the Rangers are of a mindset to do?
Well, I do. I know that toward the end of the year, a lot of their scouts were kind of under orders to find value in relievers. If you want to say cheap, that's a perfectly good synonym. But yeah, you kind of look through Rangers closers' history outside of Feliz and Joe Nathan. But then you had Sean Tollison, a good guy who I think was a waiver claim, might have been a trade. Sam Dyson, who came over in a trade at the 11 deadline and ended up saving a bunch of games in 16. And, Jose Leclerc was an internal guy who they signed to a club-friendly deal. And, whatever you think of Jose Leclerc, he was a good reliever at times for sure. And was arguably one of the reasons why they won the World Series. So, but then you look at like real closers, guys who are going to get the ninth inning and are going to just come in and shut you down. There really aren't that many of them anymore, but the ones that are out there are expensive. So I don't and since there are so few of them, that might jack up prices on closers like Kirby Yates. I saw Ethan's comment that he's projected at 1-14. That was Baseball America's projection, or not Baseball America, MLB Trade Rumors projection. And for a guy who made 4.5 last year, I don't know what the math is, but that's like a 400% raise, basically.
Yeah.
And what was his WAR? Was it around 2.5? So maybe depending on what you value WAR at, if you think one WAR is worth $5 million, then that's your guy. And that's $14 million might be a little bit of a bargain. But I don't know. I think Kirby Yates might be looking for multiple years too. So not saying the Rangers are going to sign him, not saying they're not going to, but I do value veteran closers. I just think that it's a huge difference, and to have a guy that everybody knows is the guy from day one who has done it. There's supreme confidence in him. And the one other thing I think about is Chris Young, the Royals team that won the World Series, had a kick-ass bullpen.
Yeah.
And had Wade. They didn't have Wade Davis at the time, but they had Holland as their closer, Greg Holland, and he was the guy. The 10 Giants. Everybody knew that Wilson was coming in to save those games. And then you see Kenley Jansen, Edwin Diaz with the Mets. These guys who are just, the best. The only guy to ever go into the Hall of Fame 100%, Mariano Rivera. What would you have paid for that? So anyway, the Rangers probably need to spend on closer and the rotation, and then they can sprinkle in pieces. That's my opinion.
And as you saw, that the Brewers are of a mind to do as they did with Corbin Burns as far as Devin Williams goes.
Yeah, there was a report today. Rangers could possibly be, that third favored team in the list if he were to be traded. But if we're going into bullpen and rotation and all that, I have some numbers.
Yeah,
kind of
let's
put
go.
that into perspective. Yeah. Did you guys know that the starting rotation and the bullpen posted identical ERAs this season? So they're sitting at 4.35. Not great, but it's first time that starters and relievers have had identical ERAs. The Rangers bullpen, they were 38 and 24 with the 4.3 ERA and fourth highest ERA in the American League. What was interesting, though, was opponents hit 241 off of the bullpen. Compare that to last year, and they hit 242. So, we know the bullpen struggles from 2023. Thought that there were a lot of good pieces to kind of help, but if you take a look at the numbers, doesn't make too much of a difference here. Kirby Yates, of course, leading, the Rangers in the bullpen relief, and he had 7 relief wins, which led the team. So Festa, Leclerc combined are 6 each, and Matt Festa actually posted 6 relief wins over his first 17 outings with the Rangers. So he was like one of those sneaky, sleepy kind of guys.
You talk about a guy on a heater. He just came in, and every time he came in, he got a win. You're like, what is this guy doing?
Right.
Yeah.
I think Walt Pennington is going to be in the bullpen. His slider is so good.
Yeah.
And he's working on his fastball at the behest of Mike Maddox. So I think Pennington is a guy who will be in the bullpen. He's going to make the league minimum. If he has options, those are every team needs guys like that, so that if in your bullpen you use 6 relievers one night, the next night you can trade out a couple arms with from AAA. So Pennington, a lot of people forget about Cole Winn. He's a guy who was pretty good early on, got beat up a little bit, then got hurt. He's going to be around. What are you going to do with Owen White? The former starter prospect, kind of like Wynn. I mean, they were first and second round picks in 18. Owen White worked in the bullpen this year at AAA and was a lot better. His stuff plays a little bit more. There's not a shortage of arms. It's just kind of a shortage of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Very good. So that's a little look at the rotation and the bullpen and how they may or may not need to. Look, they're going to need to go into free agency because the 2 they want from internal are both free agents right now. And, of course, in the rotation, we know that's Nathan Eovaldi, and from the bullpen perspective, that's Kirby Yates. So they'll be tapping into that free agent market, but in some ways hoping to make it internal improvement there as well. So more coming up as we try to solve the problem of this offense and see if that internal adjustment can be made. That's coming up on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. This weekend, big weekend for Do It for Dirt. We'll talk about that a little later, too. Also, a big weekend over at my house as we've got a baby shower happening for my daughter. And that means that my brother and his wife are coming in from Michigan. So we don't have to go to the baby shower. We're going to go golf.
Excellent.
So the boys get the break.
2:20 is our tee time. And you know what we're going to say when we hit that golf cart? It's 5 o'clock somewhere. And so I'm going to tell him this too. We're going to drink a Z-Biotic because the Lions play on Sunday Night Football night too.
Oh, yeah.
So we're
going
to start at 5 o'clock, 2:20, and we're going to go all day. And then I'm going to report back. But Z-Biotics is going to take care of me. You can drink and have as much fun as you want to have, and you feel great the next day. Invented by BHDs. I'll report back on Monday how it all worked out. 15% off, zbiotics.com/DLLS Rangers.
I need to pop one of those before Do It for Dirt.
You probably do too.
Yeah, and then I could also use a nice healthy meal afterwards, and that's where HelloFresh comes in. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy and fun and affordable. It's America's #1 meal kit, people. John and I have tried them. We've raved about them. Easy to make, taste delicious. My wife and I are looking forward to going ahead and making the commitment. And know what we're going to do? To get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/FreeRangers. That's what we're going to do to get our free meals. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. HelloFresh.com/FreeRangers.
Fantastic. Food and drink.
That's
just how you survive in this
That's all
world.
you need.
Good
That's all
golf.
you need.
For
Food
both of you
and
boys.
drink. That's a way to go. So we again, picking up the theme of these internal improvements, the list, Abs, of guys who need offensive improvement from last year is long,
It
right?
is.
And it's big names. It's Adolis Garcia. It's Marcus Simeon. It's Jonah Heim. I mean, not no fault of his own. It's Josh Young, right? I mean, I say no fault, but he was injured.
Yeah.
But you need more out of him. You need more out of those other guys
You
I
need
mentioned.
more 1 through 9.
Pretty much. I mean, Corey Seager probably, when he was in there, he did what he's sort of supposed to do.
He still got 30 home runs. It was just such a
Corey
sleepy
Seager probably
kind of
was
season.
there. Nate Lowe falls into this category too. He had a good last month. Even he will admit that. He doesn't say he had a good season. He had a good last month. And so we now know that there is a new hitting coach to replace Tim Hires, who left on his own to go be the hitting coach, same position for the Atlanta Braves. But Veely is reunited with a good friend of his and a guy who he worked with. In fact, Veely has called him going to work with your best friend. And so I think that there is that kind of a synergy is probably a very positive thing for these two hitting coaches when you're talking about Justin Veely and Donnie Ecker. Veely says, we're 99% like-minded when it comes to hitting.
Yeah, and not that Tim Hires and Donnie Ecker didn't speak the same language or weren't on the same page, but one reason that Donnie wanted Veely, aside from being his buddy, is that it's going to be the same message, continuity. Whichever hitting coach you're working with on a given day, it's going to be the same message, same language, and so that's a big deal, And I think that Donnie would want Justin Veely's for every minor league team and all the minor league hitting instructors, and I think that they're getting there. Seth Connor's still on the club, still in the coaching mix. I'm sure he's right there in the same mold. And, you kind of throw out Corey because he's got his own hitting guy. I think that the Rangers hitting guys just kind of supplement what he gets and make sure their eyes are telling him what Corey's seeing as well. But 1 through 9, you could look at every spot in the lineup last year and be like, yeah, that needs to be better. Mm-hmm. Seager set such a high bar in the World Series year, so he's probably the exception. But Marcus Simeon definitely needs to be better. He knows it. He said it. He wants to be better and wants to hit more balls in the air. All right, whoever is batting third, and it just seemed like that times it could be anybody, but let's say it's Wyatt Langford. Wyatt Langford was really good in September. He was the American League Player of the Month, but he needs to do before September he was a 240 hitter, and granted it was his first year, rookie season, but still he has things to get better. Garcia, of course. Nathaniel Lowe wants to be better. Jonah Heim needs to be better. Leody Taveras, whatever his future is with the club, he needs to be better. Josh Young has to stay healthy. So, I mean, it is 1 through 9. Even Josh Smith, who had this breakthrough year, he kind of petered out at the end.
He did.
Yeah.
So,
he did.
Maybe some of that was fatigue, having played every day for the first time in a long time, probably more games than he'd ever played before. But maybe the league figured something out too. So everybody can get better, and they need to, because again, with the payroll that we were talking about, not having the money, the Rangers are banking heavily that these guys are going to get better. and they need to. And if they don't, then after next year, then you got to start making some hard decisions. Adolis Garcia has one more year of salary arbitration next year. What is that going to look like if he has the same season? I don't know that he's back. And Jonah Heim catcher's a little bit different just because catchers are so hard to find.
Yeah.
But still, do you find somebody to take over the bulk of the catching load? Nate Lowe, same thing. If he's not back in 2025, what will 2026 look like? So big seasons for them personally, but collectively for the team. And but that's why the Rangers need to get a more out of DH. More out of the DH spot. The DH spot wasn't very productive. It was like
we'll get into it.
Second worst in the league.
Yeah.
The outfielders did not hit. Is Evan Carter going to be available? Yeah. Do they want to go out and get a guy who specializes in lefties and an outfielder who hits lefties and an outfielder who hits righties, a catcher who hits righties because Heim's not as good against righties. So there's just a lot of target areas, very specific needs that the team has, and that's how I expect them to navigate the offseason.
And so, go ahead, Abs.
Well, I was just going to say, you've seen that it works with Donnie Ecker and Justin Bealey together. I mean, they helped create one of the best offenses in baseball in 2021 with the Giants. They took their team from hitting 239 to 249. And they, that season they won the National League West, 107 wins, and they also 241 home runs. That was a season that was a franchise record for the Giants. So it's not necessarily rinse and repeat, obviously, of new people. But when you know that a system works, it's a little bit easier to implement it. And, kind of, when you're preaching the same message, the team can really buy into that. But yeah, I mean, the offensive struggles that this team had, they need to take a look into them. I mean, it comes down to runs per game, and we could talk about, what they did do right with runners in scoring position. That was kind of a surprise to find because the offense did seem to have so many, negative trends and takeaways, but there were some things that they did right. I think it's just about piecing it all together. And again, it's pretty rare that a lot of people in your organization have down years collectively. So you're hoping that in 2025, everyone's incredibly rested and gets a full spring training. We've seen the value of those.
Yeah, no doubt. And that runners in scoring position thing is surprising when the offense was down as a whole. And yet, guys like, Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, they always seem to come through in a clutch, right? They just have a different focus, I think, when they see that, when they see those ducks on the pond, as it were. So that's an interesting thing. Here's a thought, Jeff. They didn't see nearly enough pitches last year. They didn't see nearly as many as they had seen the year before. They're known as a very aggressive team. We talk about lead by example. Look, Corey Seager will swing at the first pitch every time if he can, right?
Yeah.
So Corey's not preaching anything in that regard, I'm sure of it. We know him well enough to know that. But I wonder if that lead by example is, man, it works for Corey. Let me get up there. And maybe that's one of the messages that needs to be just reinforced, not delivered, reinforced to these guys by the Donnie Eckers and the Justin Veeleys of the world.
Yeah, you need to be ready to hit. The first pitch might be the best pitch you're going to see, and it, maybe they're trying to the pitcher's trying to sneak a fastball by you or something, and that might be the pitch. And I Corey Seager and Josh Hamilton are just swing at the first pitch like crazy, but I think I do think they were too aggressive, and I don't know if it's because the first fastball they saw, they were going to try to swing at it. They weren't any good against fastballs. That's another thing. They have to get better against fastballs for whatever reason. Like Adolis Garcia's swing is too long. He's got to shorten his swing. That's the biggest mystery I think that this team has to solve, because breaking pitches, off-speed pitches are so much better now than they were even 5 years ago with all the these designer pitches and if you can't hit a fastball, then you're in trouble, and it really comes down to that, and teams just aren't going to throw you fastballs. I still don't know why teams throw Corey Seager fastballs.
Learn your lesson.
Yeah, but he'll hit anything. But Marcus Semien loves an inside fastball, but his Achilles heel is a slider down and away, and teams know that. And for whatever, it got exposed in the postseason, I thought, in 23, and they just kept hammering with it this year. And maybe that's why he had the down year. I don't know, but Adolis Garcia, he can't hit a fastball and then he keeps swinging at high fastballs.
Yeah.
So there are things with approach, I think, that need to be worked on. You're not going to grind every pitcher to death. Some pitchers are premium strike throwers, and they come out and you're down 0-2 if you take 2 pitches. So it is a game-to-game thing, but I think collectively the Rangers have some work to do, both on the ability to hit the fastball, but also kind of understanding game situations and when they need to be aggressive and when they don't need to be aggressive.
Yeah, we continue to talk offense as we try to fix this thing internally is the biggest challenge for the Rangers this offseason. They've got some money to spend, but maybe not as much as we're used to, having had seasons when they signed Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, John Gray, Jacob deGrom et al., right? All those guys. So we will talk more about these internal fixes, many of them on the offensive side of the play. That's coming up, all of it on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
It's cooler season. Actually, I don't really know if the season ever ends. I feel
True.
it's a good thing in the summer, fall, winter. But Rugged Road is the best if you are going to need a cooler. Better than anything out on the market because it's floatable. So you can actually take it out to the river if you need to. If you're on the water on a boat or anything, don't worry, it'll float. It's a lightweight design as well. So I could even probably be in charge of lugging the cooler down if I needed to, with drinks and food and snacks in that. It's durable and it is dependable. So when you have this Rugged Road cooler, it's not going to break. It'll last, and they can keep things cool for 7 days. I don't really know why you wouldn't refrigerate something at a certain
Right.
point, but if you forgot, 7 days is kind of your time span there. So it's probably ideal for camping. This would be your best bang for your buck. So go to ruggedroadoutdoors.com, use code DLLS for 10% off.
And check out the set behind us. Aside from the best-selling book At Long Last, and I actually don't think it was a bestseller, although it was pretty high on the baseball charts last year. Still available at Amazon.com if you want to give me any royalties. But anyway, the rest of the set is from Foco.com. They helped us design the set. It's like where you can get all kinds of sports gear and memorabilia, pennants, overalls, all kinds of stuff, and it's a cool website. Your team is going to be on there, I guarantee it. Green Thumb John over here, I've got a future pair of Lions overalls for him. But anyway, you can do it if you use the code DLLS for 10% off. That's FOCO.com.
Yeah, I love the book back there. We might need to partner with Foco and see if we can get At Long Last available in Foco. And by the way, if I have the Detroit Lions overalls when I'm out working in the yard, and of course, like I typically do with my overalls, I'll be shirtless under the overalls, just because.
I thought this was going to be a gift for the baby.
That's the look. But then I didn't think of this till you mentioned it today, Abs. I could put the Rugged Road right in the pool. And then when I get in the pool, the beer's right there. That's a reason not to have it in the fridge. You have it right in the pool.
You just need to try out all these things.
Yeah,
and
that's
get back
a
to
surprise.
us.
Well, and if you got to take stuff to Thanksgiving dinner, or Christmas dinner, you're in charge of the pies or the vegetable tray, just stick them in the cooler.
Yeah, right in the Rugged Road.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So anyway, we've got lots to talk about here as we try to fix this thing for the Texas Rangers. It's not remarkably broken. It's broken, and if you look at that 78 win total, 78 and 84, and compared to last year in particular, when they won the World Series, it seems like it's really broken. And there are a lot of people, fans, who are like, oh man, back to the same old Rangers. This is not the same old Rangers, right? This is a team that is led by Chris Young, who's really seriously, and we're around competitive people all the time. He is one of the most competitive people I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He is a competitor, and the way he competes now is to put this team together and put this team, the best possible team, on the field. And by the way, it's his team in many ways. You hear me once in a while saying, my Lions are on. Well, I don't own the Lions, right? I grew up watching the Lions, so I feel like they're my Lion. Chris Young grew up watching the
literally
Rangers.
his team.
And I'll tell you this, he's a heck of a lot closer to owning them or, being able to call them his team than I ever am with the Lions. So, but he wants his team, the team he grew up with. First of all, he wanted them to win.
Check.
He did. Yeah, check. Thank you. Now,
Wants
he
them
wants
to do
them
it
to
again.
win every year. Yeah. He wants them to be in that conversation every year.
Yeah, I love listening to CY just talk to us because, he's always going to give the most professional, polite answer. And I love that. He's a smart guy, Princeton grad. I mean, we're well aware of how versed he is with media and all things like that. But he really does just have a standard. And he's not going to be okay with anything less than the highest achiever. And not only once, he says consistently for a long period of time. So I think, that's, I come from the great state of Alabama. And let me tell you,
You guys know about longevity, yeah.
Crimson Tide fans, their team loses one game and Tuscaloosa's burning down. So it's like, it's not really obtainable to have these dynasties anymore, but I think to just be like a very serious contender is a goal of Chris Young. And I think with guys like Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, Corey Seager wanting to come here, the Rangers are on the map for players, and it's a standout. And I think that all these front office moves just kind of prove how serious they are about their pursuit to championship level baseball on a constant basis.
Sure.
Yeah, and how long is this Rangers window open? Everybody talks about windows. Okay, Marcus Semien has 4 years left on his contract. Corey Seager's got 7.
Yeah. 7.
And obviously you're going to have to
And
supplement.
DeGrom has 3 this year and 2 more.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you'd think, all right, the next 4 years
Should be pretty good.
You got 3 really good guys. But it's more than that. That's when you need Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter to become players. You need Josh Young to be an everyday player who can stay healthy.
Yeah.
But then you'd still have to shop in free agency and make trades to keep the window open. Everybody kind of thinks that the Astros window is closing, yet they keep winning the West. And they have some big questions. Alex Bregman. What are they going to do with Verlander? Are they going to bring him back? They have the starting pitching injuries that guys who will be coming back at some point into the season, but they've managed to keep the window open. Their farm system though is dead ass last. It's bad, and so that's kind of a red flag, if you will, on the Astros' future. They can't keep spending and spending. At least you wouldn't think, but if they do. Kyle Tucker's salary arbitration, but he's going to get expensive. They locked up Altuve. They have Alvarez locked up. Okay, great. But Bregman's a guy. He's what is he gonna make in free agency, and will it be from the Astros? Everybody's talking about AJ Hinch and the Tigers. They have some questions, but the window, they've been able to keep it open. However they did it, it stayed open that long, and so the Rangers. They might hate the Astros, but the Astros are kind of a model for that too. But again, you got to keep that farm system fresh, and the Astros have had some really good homegrown talent, but they've traded it all away, at these deadlines, and that's kind of what caught up to the Rangers at the end of their first window. Those first World Series teams, you go into 15 and 16, and you try for it again, and they trade away a bunch of guys, and that kind of is what ultimately led to the decision that, hey, our farm system sucks. We need to replete or replenish it and start over, and that's kind of what 2021 became.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in 10 and 11, the Rangers farm system, in addition to having a really good team, it was ranked really high. I think it got to number 1 a couple of times in that stretch.
Yeah, and they had Profar, who everybody thought was the number 1 prospect in the game. And he wasn't even on those teams, in 10 and 11. And they did have some misses. They struggled at the top of the draft. No question about it. They'll admit that now. But if you kind of look, really, you can start in 16. In 2016, they drafted Cole Reagans. Cole Reagans is a really good draft pick.
Yeah.
It's not for the Rangers, but he's a good draft pick. Then Bubba Thompson, Cole Winn, Josh Young, Justin Foscue, who they have hopes for. I could keep going. Jack Leiter, Kamar Rocker, Wyatt Langford. All right, and then Malcolm Moore this last year. We'll see what happens, but those guys have all made it to the majors.
Yeah. And guys we mentioned yesterday, like Kyle Hendricks, right?
Yeah.
Was one of the guys traded.
Sure.
He was traded so that they could bring back, which one was that they brought back for him?
That was Ryan Dempster.
Ryan Dempster, right? Which he didn't work out, but he could have been that piece
and
to get them over the hump.
Rangers didn't even think he was the big piece in that. They traded an infielder named Christian Villanueva, and they thought he was the big guy, but instead it's this 8th-round pick from Dartmouth who can't break a pane in glass with his fastball, and all of a sudden he
became the Cubs ace for
he's
several
one of the best
years.
pitchers in Cubs history. Everybody talked about Jake Arrieta in that period, but Kyle Hendricks was damn steady, and he just signed yesterday with the Angels. I guess we'll get to that maybe a little bit later, but he's still out there pumping. So it's not always the first rounders. Ian Kinsler was an 18th round pick, 16th, 17th, 18th round pick, somewhere in there. Same thing with Mitch Moreland. It's not always those guys. You got to find guys throughout the draft, but to keep the window open, especially, you have to have guys that come up and produce, and then so if you're talking Astros, it's Kyle Tucker. So is that going to be Evan Carter? Is it Wyatt Langford? Just guys that are going to help and keep the window open.
So the Rangers, Abs, don't have, and really haven't that often had that DH, right?
Correct.
They have people that they put in as DH that day, but maybe that sort of philosophy has failed as you look at the numbers.
Yeah, they hit 204. They were dead last in on-base percentage, slugging, and OPS, and 29th in batting average in the league. They had 16 different batters as the starting designated hitter in 2024. It'd be nice to solidify that role. Maybe we kind of talked about possible free agents. You've got Jock Peterson, JD Martinez, Andrew McCutchen. Those are options, but it's like bang for your buck. I mean, I think Peterson might be I think he's $7 million. So it's like, he's a little bit younger. He's 33. JD Martinez is going to be 37. Andrew McCutchen's going to be 38. One comment you're going to love. Somebody said, Clutch or McCutchen would be amazing in the clubhouse, but age and ability are factors. Honestly, I'd rather save the money and see what Blaine Krim has first.
Yay, Blaine Krim.
There you go. He's the president of the Blaine Krim fan club. But yeah, I mean, that DH role just didn't really produce for the Rangers.
It's an era of versatility in baseball, right? We want guys who can play multiple positions. We want guys who are extremely versatile. So, gone are the days, I think, when, you can just get Frank Howard and say, you're the DH,
Right.
hit home runs, right? Even later in his career, Miguel Cabrera in Detroit, right? I mean, they didn't count on him for much in the field. They were just like, go ahead, hit. You can fall out of bed and hit a double. So, but it's hard in this game, and with the thought process in the game today, Jeff, to just devote a position to a guy who's only going to hit.
Yeah,
it is, and the Rangers.
If they're not named Shohei Ohtani.
That's right. That's right.
And the Rangers don't like to do that with their DH spot. They like to use it to give guys days off. I think that's part of the reason why there were 16 guys who filled the spot. I mean,
Langford was 20. He was there 25, and then Garcia 23. And it's 4 of those days off.
That's a surprising number on Langford. I thought it'd be higher, but but like Jonah Heim wouldn't get a true day off.
Right?
Yeah.
He would. They would have both their catchers in the lineup at the same time. So there are ways to finagle it so that it is somebody different, but a guy like Jock Peterson, who would face he'd be a platoon guy. You'd have to line up a platoon partner with him. And maybe it's Adolis Garcia, and you're sacrificing a lot on defense. But if Adolis needs a DH day, well, okay, slide in Jock Peterson, or especially against a right-hander. Now, again, Jock Peterson is not going to sell a bunch of tickets. He's not going to, he's not going to grace the cover of the media guide.
No,
but he's a guy that could
quote.
help. He could be a good post-game quote, and he can win you ball games. So. And fill a need, and again, with what the Rangers did offensively, they do have areas they need to address outside the organization, as opposed to just these guys getting internally better. So we'll see what happens, but the DH spot was a sinkhole.
Yeah. And just a quick note, too. The Rangers had 36 come-from-behind wins in 2024. They also had a ton of one-run games. I mean, I feel like we were covering a one-run game for majority of the season. They were 26-20 in those one-run games, so that is above 500.
Yeah.
But, it's really important to get those come-from-behind wins and those one-run games. So if you have that steady hand at the DH position, how much do you count on those for a little bit of insurance in those close, pivotal games?
Yeah. Then, by the way, that number almost, in 2021, they lost all the one-run games.
It was 22.
Oh, was it 22?
That's what ultimately
it was 22.
led
okay.
to, and that was a factor in Chris Woodward's dismissal. At one point, they were like 10-30. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
6-24. It was awful how bad they were in one-run games. But like the 2016 team was fantastic in one-run games, and they won the West, had the best record in the AL. But teams are like, look at their run differential. They won a lot of one-run games.
Yeah.
Are they really as good as they are? So, but you'd rather win them than lose them.
Yep.
Obviously.
No
sure.
doubt about that. Yeah, absolutely.
And their run differential this year was 55. Just
what was it?
Minus 55.
55.
Yeah, okay. All right, so there's some of the things that we have in mind for doing improvements, internal improvements, and with the look and eye to the external as well, as the Rangers try to get better, get back to where they were, get back to where they belong, back to where they were in 2023. More coming up as we will go. Basically that was the third hitter. So now it's time for the cleanup man. We're going to go batting cleanup next, and we've got several topics to discuss as we continue with the DLLS Rangers Podcast. All right, diehards, it's time for you to step up. It's a great time to do this. You become a diehard, and you become one of us, basically. You join the club. Imagine being Abby's best friend, man. You get to hang out with Abby and be her best friend. We would love that. We do love that, and you would love it too. So become a diehard. 20% off all of our merch. 20% off all of our events, which will include trips, which will include stadium takeovers, which will include all kinds of fun events like that as we continue to grow this thing. And you get 20% off merchandise too. Not to mention, if you become a diehard, you get a free shirt every year that you become a diehard. Again, $79 to become a diehard, and 35 of that would go to the shirt. So it's kind of like getting a diehard subscription for $45. We encourage you to become a diehard, become our best friend today.
And check out the merch while you're at it. We have other locations in Denver and Philly, Phoenix. Am I missing one? Chicago. Thank you. So you don't have to be committed to Dallas if you've got friends or family out there. Jeff has a few family members in Colorado.
Denver, yeah. All my high school buddies, yeah.
Going to give the gift of giving this holiday season with the gift cards. So maybe they can get, Rockies merch to wear to one of those games.
Yeah, they're way down on the Rockies. They'd probably go Nuggets right now. Most of my friends were basketball players in high school, so
we need little sound effects.
Yeah.
But no, great merch, good quality, great price, very affordable. So many selections too. We've seen them around the office a lot, and these two have been modeling for us.
Yeah.
The shirts.
I have on one in an undershirt today. I was a little chilly, so I have a pullover on. It's Texas Chew though. Let's see if I can get it up without looking too disgusting. I'm flashing people now. Here we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Store All City Network, store.allcitynetwork.com.
How do your friends feel about Sean Payton?
I think they're all right with them now.
Are they?
Yeah.
Getting better? Yeah.
Yeah, they were a little concerned after the first 2 games, and then it's hard to win with a rookie quarterback. But Bo Nix has been pretty good. But then they go to Baltimore and just get trashed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But I mean, they're kind of a playoff team. I think they have the Chiefs this week.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay, that's
Yeah.
big too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They're going to hand them their first loss?
That's right.
Yeah,
Chiefs
could they?
are ripe
Could they?
for the picking.
Somebody will eventually.
Lord.
We hope. Okay.
I tell you what, one of the things I hate most in sports is the 72 Dolphins celebrating
Oh, my
every time somebody
God.
loses a game.
I want someone to go undefeated so bad. And again,
Yeah.
the Patriots did one
they almost
year,
tried.
but they
Yeah,
didn't
they almost
win
got
the Super Bowl that
Right,
year.
right. They
And in fact,
narrowly
the
lost
Giants
it.
beat them that
Yeah.
year. And that's I mean, normally I'm going to root for the NFC team in the Super Bowl, and everybody, like everybody, got tired of the Patriots winning. But I wanted them to win that one just to these guys pop champagne.
Right.
That's just ridiculous.
And it was only a 16-game season too. I think the Patriots were trying to go 19-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a 14-game regular season.
They surpassed your 16-0, Larry Zonka.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm with you on that. And I grew up because the Lions weren't that great then. I grew up loving those Dolphins teams.
Yeah,
Bob Greasy and Mercury Morris and Jim Kick and
Sure.
Larry Zonka and all those guys. But no,
You got to move on at some point.
Yeah, you do, right? And cheer for other people. That I love when a record gets broken and whoever held the record.
Yeah, congratulations.
As we saw with family of Roger Maris, right?
right.
When Aaron Judge broke his record.
It's
I
like
love
an honor.
The family was there.
Yeah,
And
even with McGuire, that run they were there, so that was great.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
It really was. So I referenced something that we mentioned yesterday that we didn't. Kyle Hendricks, it was on our run sheet yesterday, and I forgot, but he signed with the Angels,
Yeah.
a 1-year, $3 million deal. Or was that a sign, or did he was going to sign? Anyway,
He has signed, I believe. Yeah.
Anyway, I wondered, is this
1 year, $2.5 million.
2.5? This could be Wash driven.
It
right?
could be, yeah. You
Yeah.
know, Wash wants a steady guy. He's going to go out there and post. And I know Hendricks had a rough year. Whether it was his diminishing velocity or not the most sparkling year, but that Angels team at the end was just running out rookies you'd never heard of.
Right.
It's like who the hell is this guy?
Right.
And
Yeah.
Googling somebody on a daily
they've
basis.
got some decent arms. They really do. That Jack Kohanowicz looks
Yes.
like he's a good one, but they need to be mentored.
Yeah.
And so
Who better than Ron Washington, man?
and Kyle Hendricks,
Kyle,
and Wash will appreciate what Hendricks can give them, and whatever it is that's left. But yeah, I would imagine that if Perry Manassian called Wash and said, "What do you think about Kyle Hendricks?" and Wash would have.
That's what I was going to say.
Would have
Did
been
Perry,
like, "Yeah, let's do
was
it."
Perry and Zach wasn't still here in 10, was he?
Yeah,
Was Perry
Zach
still
was not
around?
here in 10, but no, that was Hoggy's first year.
That was
'cause
Hoggie's.
came up
But
with
again, so Perry was still hanging around.
I mean, Perry knew Wash. Yeah, they have
Yeah.
a history. The Manassians have a history with Wash, but anyway, yeah, that's Ron Washington will like Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah. All right. And we also wanted to mention the schedule is out with times. We've known who
For
the
spring
Rangers would
trainings.
play in spring training.
Yeah.
But we didn't know the times, and so there you go. That's it. Take a look. Goodbye. No, you can
Screenshot
take a
it, zoom
screenshot
in.
or something and zoom in, and you'll see the times. But and we're really still working on trying to get a trip together. The thing you got to just recognize and realize about spring training, man, the weather is yet generally perfect out there at
Yeah.
that time of year, and you're done with everything by 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon a lot of days.
Yeah, it's a little chilly there right now, but we had Cody Freeman, the minor league defensive player of the year, on the weekly show, and he's in the fall league, and he's like, "Yeah, we got a game tonight. It's going to be really cold." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Yeah, it's going to be like 49." I was like, "All right, you'll be okay." He's like, "Well, I'm from Southern California." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah.
But 49 for Arizona is unusual.
A little chilly.
Early in spring training, it can be a little chilly. 2 springs ago, it was miserable. It was so cold the first couple weeks. I was wearing layers, no shorts, no chance. Yeah,
man.
it was terrible, John. I'm telling you. But yeah, I think the Surprise should hire me. Major League Baseball should hire me because you will not find a bigger supporter of going to spring training than me. When I was little, beginning in 4th grade, we started going to spring training from Colorado. There was no major league team in Colorado at the time. The Cubs had just won the East and had gone to the playoffs and nearly the World Series. So we were Cubs fans, but it's just a great trip. It really is. The weather is fantastic. The player access, they're right there. They're all in a good mood. It's the best time to be a reporter. It's the most important time to be a reporter.
Yeah.
So you get to know all the guys who are going to be in the minor leagues and eventually come to the majors. But yeah, so February 21st, they open up as they always do against the Royals. The 23rd at the Cubs, and that's good because you don't want to be driving across the valley on a weekday. But yeah, and keep in mind also, Arizona does not do daylight savings.
Right.
So right now, as of Saturday, they're always on Mountain Standard Time. But so right now, Arizona is only 1 hour behind us. But at one point, at the midpoint of spring camp training, everybody else springs forward except Arizona, and so it becomes 2 hours. And so this year we can look at the schedule. It's a little later this year because spring break for our kids at least is the week before the final week. I mean, that's usually a week later. But as Major League Baseball keeps moving up the start of the season, opening day this year is what
there's one on the 18th, I think.
Yeah.
Well, no, the one in Japan, anyways.
Right.
But
the Rangers break camp on March 22nd this year. That's the earliest I ever remember.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, make your plans. City of Surprise, Surprise Stadium. Not a bad seat in the ballpark. You can get lawn seats if you want. And then you're not just relegated to Surprise. There's 15 teams in Arizona. The White Sox and the Dodgers are right down the road, 15 minutes away. The Reds and the Guardians got it, are 10 minutes further away.
Yeah.
If you want to go east on Bell Road, take life into your own hands, the Mariners and the Padres are right there.
Yeah.
Depending on traffic, 15 minutes away. And that's just the West Valley, and then you can go to the east. You
And
see
that's
the Cubs,
the West.
the Giants, the
there's
A's,
a lot of great teams in the West.
Angels, there are.
Yeah.
But
West Valley, I mean.
the West Valley, The East Valley, the Brewers are kind of in the middle. So I mean, it's just a great time. So go to spring training. If we do have the trip, you guys got to take it with us. All right, this will be my 18th spring. I know Surprise like the back of my hand. I've got a bar for us. We'll try to do a show from there if it happens. Andy will set us up at Booties and everything will be good. And don't worry about Booties; it's not one of those. All right.
I was going to say the name.
Yeah.
The
And his
name
last
implies.
name is Labooty, Bieuty or Ti, and he just calls it Booties.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
And he spells it BIE.
but no, Booties
No.
the restaurant is OOTYS.
I'm
But
excited for spring training. We did 1 or 2, but majority of my dads were in Florida. So I am excited for Arizona.
yeah,
it'll be fun.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
great.
Awesome. So other things to talk about as we back clean up here. We wanted to get to Austin Hedges.
Hedgie.
He signs a 1-year contract extension with the Cleveland
With the who?
Guardians. I did it too. The Cleveland
Attaboy.
Guardians. How about that? Huh? We're getting better.
I think Ben said one day you need a swear jar, but it's really a mistake jar, and you just put $1, $2 in for the Guardians since you guys do it so much.
Yeah,
And
well,
I
or
would
a
go home with
buzzer.
a pretty penny.
Yeah. The Austin Hedges story is great because we all remember his raw enthusiasm and joy as a part of that World Series team. And we also remember, as do the Guardians, that there's not much stick there. He's a decent defensive catcher.
He's a really good
2
defensive
home
catcher.
But there's not much stick there. That said, he, brought, Stephen Vogt said it. He, as a rookie manager, he said this guy was like an assistant coach. He brought so much leadership to that clubhouse. And that's why, as much as anything, that's why he's back with the Guardians for another
That's
year.
so important. I'm going to make a basketball tie really quick, but that's like Markieff Morris with the Mavericks. I mean, he doesn't play, and if he does, it's maybe like a point or a basket. Nothing crazy, but it's, there you go. But it's just his leadership. When you can get Luka and Kai to listen to this veteran guy, it's so important. And, clubhouse, I mean, especially baseball, these guys spend so much time together. Austin Hedges is such an infectious and fun personality. He went out on the field and shotgunned a beer during the ALDS, which was hilarious. But no, he's just a lighthearted guy. The season gets long. It's, kind of the dog days. You want some, it's a business and there's a lot of money involved, but can't be serious all the time. You need one of those funny guys. And it's funny, I don't know how many times I'm going to talk about this comeback documentary on Netflix, but Kevin Millar was such a huge role to that Red Sox team, winning the World Series. When they were in New York to take on the Yankees and, they were always facing elimination, Kevin Millar gathered everybody. There was a clubhouse visiting manager, and he had Jack Daniels, and he poured every single player a shot, and you think, oh my gosh, this is moments before a game, how could they do anything other than sit and be in their thoughts? And no, he was a fun guy that, wanted to add a little bit of team bonding, if you will.
Right, well, levity, right?
Yeah.
You release tension with levity and things like that. Not to mention Jack Daniels, that can release a little tension too on you.
I think he might have had
short term.
He might have taken shillings that day or something. But no, it really is a big part of team chemistry and can translate to success, which is the most important part.
No doubt. We want to get to one more thing in our batting cleanup segment, and that's our bat. Did you notice the bat in front of us today? It's the nicest bat I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, look at that thing. There it is. Beautiful. Ian Kinsler had this made for Do It for Durrett.
Ian, as you guys may know, is a part owner and one of the founders of the War Stick Bat Company. And Ian knew Richard, and he can't make the event this year, Ian, so he did this for us. And there's two of them. We're giving one to a sponsor, and I have the opening bid on this one at $200. It's a wood bat. It's not, you're not going to get a bargain for your kids. It's not a bone saber from War Stick. They're a hot bat. But it is just a sweet looking thing. I picked it up. I talked to the guy who created it today. And if you want to get it engraved, you can. They'll take it back and they'll engrave it for free. So anyway, this thing's a beauty. And Richard was an Auburn guy. So blue and orange were his colors. He went to TCU, but he liked Auburn sports.
Weagle.
And then we have one more thing.
Look at that.
A basketball donated by the Mavs, autographed by the whole team. And nice. Luka's autograph is right there. All right, so if you're all wondering,
fantastic.
Is Luka on the ball? Luka is on the ball. Kyrie Irving is right down here. So on opposite sides of the Wilson, just above the Wilson. But it's all the players. So you can bid on that. The auction is going right now. It's at 32auctions.com. Do a search for Do It for Durrett, and you will see all the items that we had. The ones that we had in here a couple weeks ago. Other ones that, Mike Trout bat, Bobby Witt Jr. game used bat. Just all kinds of great things. Trips. And then we'll have a live auction that night, tomorrow night, at Texas Live, before the Josh Abbott band takes the stage. So for $40, you can have a night of entertainment and help a great cause. So again,
it's 2 Whataburgers at Globe Life Field. Just saying.
32auctions.com.
Yep.
And you search Do It for Durrett.
Right.
That bat's going to 300 right now. I'm going to tell you that right now. So
John,
I might outbid my co-host here. Yeah, we'll see. It'll
sweet.
Probably go a lot higher than that, and I hope it does. But yeah. Very good. Fantastic. Do It for Durrett tomorrow. It starts at Grapevine Golf Course, where they have a golf tournament, and then on to Texas Live, where they have the big event tomorrow night, including the Josh Abbott band. So check that out, and we'll come back Saturday with a full report on all the great festivities, all the fun, all the celebrities, all the former players that we see. Abby's going to be out there chatting with them. Jeff's going to be out there playing golf with them, including Rangers pitching coach Mike Maddox.
Yeah, and everybody, I know we didn't get to the chat as much, but some spirited talk in there today.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
Hope you guys had a good time with this show, and tell your friends, keep watching us. We're having a good time too.
We passed 10K.
Yeah,
that's right.
1 a.m. last night.
Yeah,
I was part of it.
We have more than 10,000 subscribers now, thanks to you and all of them. Awesome.
Yep.
All right, that's it for us today, guys. We'll see you again Saturday at noon for a very special edition, a Do It for Durrett edition of the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.